After getting drunk at the company banquet, I ran my mouth about my ex in excruciating detail, not realizing the big boss at the head table was secretly recording me. And to make it worse, my coworkers started egging me on with questions. Someone even guessed my ex's last name, and when I finally passed out, the boss patted me and called me by my legal name. That's when it hit me. The whole company was feasting on my drama. At the company annual party, the leaders wanted to set me up with someone. I'd had too much to drink and, eyes red, said I couldn't get over my ex. My coworkers gossiped and pushed me to spill details. The boss at the head table looked more and more unreadable. "Your ex, don't tell me his last name is Dawson?" A few executives instantly sobered up and stared at one another. I laid my head on the table and slept like a baby, not hearing a word the boss said. People around me were hungry for tea and kept shaking me. "Don't sleep, Jennifer Delaney, keep going." I forced my head up. "About what? Is your ex's family rich?" "Stupid rich," I said, spreading my arms. "In their kitchen, they've got a whole row of fridges, all crammed with premium seafood people send over. So how did you two meet?" "He was my high school classmate," I mumbled and sat there trying to steady myself. My body clocked the lens before my eyes did. I straightened my face at once, only to see the big boss at the head table sneaking a video of me. "Mr. Tony, why are you filming me?" Tony Camel is good-looking and constantly in the tabloids. Among the group's execs, he draws the most gossip. People call him the second prince. He's got an older brother everyone calls the Crown Prince. Then, a year ago, the Crown Prince was transferred out, and Tony Camel took over running the company. By rank, I'm not qualified to sit at his table. But tonight is the annual party, and I was top 3 in revenue last year across all verticals: sales, interviews, group broadcasts, you name it. To show appreciation, the leaders let top-rated employees sit at the same table. Tony Camel pressed his lips together, lifted a hand for me to continue. "Nothing go on. I actually want to hear this. Maybe let's not talk about dating. It's embarrassing." I reflexively dropped a cherry tomato into my wine glass, then realized I wasn't entertaining clients and fished it back out. Sour. Tony Camel hissed softly. "Embarrassing?" He looked like he wanted to laugh but held it in. "Is it embarrassing to have dated that ex of yours?" I shook my head. "It's not that he was embarrassing, it's that I was a mess back then. Doesn't add up," he coaxed. "If you were such a mess, why would he be with you?" I kept quiet. Tony flicked a glance at the people beside him. A few half-drunk leaders instantly stood up, saying they needed to make the rounds at other tables. Seeing that, my coworkers at our table slipped away too. I was confused and decided to leave with them. Tony quickly lifted his eyes and cleared his throat. "Why are you leaving? You did great last year. Let's talk about a raise." I jolted and slid back into my seat. I topped off my glass and, on muscle memory, launched into a thank you. "Thank you for the recognition, Mr. Camel. I'll drink." Sit, don't drink." He pressed a hand over my glass. "Tell me, how did your ex's mother talk you into breaking up? Did she insult you or threaten you?" "Neither." He was kind. I was a senior then. Ever since sophomore year, after Luke Dawson and I made it official, I'd spend a few days at his place every winter and summer break. His mother showed up one afternoon out of the blue. I was napping on the sofa when the knocking woke me. I thought Luke was back. I ran to the door and found a stranger there, 3 parts like Luke. She saw me and wasn't surprised, and she didn't seem to be looking for Luke either. I greeted her slowly. "Hello, ma'am." "Hello, Jennifer." She smiled. "Shall we go inside and talk?" I guessed her purpose right away. She said her surname was Johnson. She and Mr. Dawson were an arranged match. Their industries complemented each other perfectly. Married for years and generally harmonious. And Luke was the only legitimate son. Maybe Mr. Dawson had other children, but Luke sat secure so long as he didn't mess up, didn't give outsiders a weak spot to attack. I trust Luke's abilities. He doesn't really need marriage to secure himself, Mrs. Johnson folded her hands over her purse and shifted gears. But alliances are a way to build support. If he doesn't do it, someone else will. And if others find his wife's family weak, they might use their own marriage alliance to team up and take him on. That would be bad. With every sentence she spoke, my back got a little stiffer, like sitting on pins and needles. Better to make it quick. I lowered my head. Mrs. Johnson, what? What do you want me to do? She glanced at my fidgeting fingers, almost pitying. Jennifer, I've known about you since high school. Back then, Luke would mention your name at home without even realizing it. Later, I asked the school. I learned your parents were very old-fashioned, that poverty relief funds helped you get out of the mountains, and your grades got you into, 13 high. A girl who's had it hard. You're smart and you're pretty. But to be our daughter-in-law, you don't have to be perfect. You just can't have glaring shortcomings. I hadn't planned to tear you two apart so soon, but Luke's about to graduate. You're staying in the country and he doesn't want to go abroad. So, Jennifer, think about him and think about yourself. She opened her purse and pressed a thin check onto the table. I wiped my face quickly and didn't dare look up. Oh, okay, I got it. I won't see you out, if that's all right. Her soft shawl brushed my fuzzy pajamas. The scent was faint, like sandalwood from a temple. The sandalwood faded. She closed the door as if she'd never been there. I went to pack my things. Only then did I realize how much there was. Clothes and socks piled into a corner of the closet. Jewelry, hair ties, and toiletries Luke had grabbed for me. The plants I tended, the throw pillows, plushies, trinkets I'd bought, the unfinished pads. No way it all fit in the one suitcase I'd come with. I stuffed and pulled, stuffed and pulled. The jewelry I couldn't price, I left. The toiletries I had to take. On my own, I'd never splurge like that. Extra sets of pajamas, take those. That cashmere shawl the celebrities wear, the long one. When we bought it, Luke laughed that I was short but insisted on playing cool, said I looked like a manta ray draped in it. Taking it. The sound system at his place was the brand I picked supposed to be amazing. Once we had it, I realized the internet had overhyped it, but I still loved it. Too bad I really couldn't haul that out. What about the balcony flowers I'd tended for 2 years? Start over somewhere else and spend 2 more years? I sat by the chaotic suitcase and suddenly broke down. The front door opened and shut. Footsteps. The soft clink of shopping bags set on the table. Jennifer, Luke called from outside. Let me make you something to eat? I didn't answer. He muttered in confusion. Probably catching sight of the check on the coffee table, his steps faltered. The bedroom door creaked open. Who in my family came to see you? Luke's face darkened, fingers pinching the thin slip of paper. I turned my head toward him and quickly wiped my face with my sleeve. All right, don't cry, don't cry. He crouched down and gathered me into his arms. Who came? Tell me. His fingertips were cold, and so was his coat. I nudged the coat away with my cheek and buried my face in the warmth of his sweater. But his wool sweater smelled like sandalwood, too. They were a family. Was I supposed to cling to him? Make him choose sides? My breathing hitched as I tried to pull away, but he yanked me back. His fingers tangled in my hair, pressing the back of my head to his chest without a word. Talk. Was it a man or a woman? How old? He lowered his head, the bridge of his nose brushing my forehead, his breath thick with anger. I shook my head. I want to talk. About what? Jennifer, what do you want to talk about? Breaking up? His gaze was sharp. Didn't you promise me when we got together that you wouldn't give up easily? I wanted to say sorry, but couldn't. He'd said when he confessed, he'd thought it through. So he wanted me to do the same, to consider the obstacles I'd face before answering him. I promised him I'd stay with him no matter what. But I was too young then, too naive about what obstacles meant. Only when the day really came did I realize one sentence was enough to end everything. I backed down. Maybe one day he would too. Maybe we should break up? I met his eyes, my voice shrinking with every word. I'm afraid you'll later regret it, that I'll just hold you back. Enough! Luke cut me off, swallowing hard. During 3 years of high school, I barely spoke. At first, when classmates asked me questions, I said nothing, just wrote out the solution for them. They thought I was putting on airs. Soon, the whole grade called me the silent genius who thinks she's too cool for us. Later, teachers made me answer questions. After a while, they realized I had a speech impediment, so they exempted me from answering aloud. No one made things hard for me after that, though they'd gently suggest I should practice speaking more. Daytime classes, nighttime dorm chores, there was never enough time, and I didn't want to. It wasn't until I started dating Luke that I began to speak once in a while. He always waited for me to finish. Even if it took 10 minutes for me to describe one thing, he never interrupted. I pressed my lips together. "Jennifer," he said, taking a deep breath, his palms cupping my cheeks. "Do you still like me?" I looked at him and nodded. "Then don't talk about breaking up. Do it for me, practice talking properly. I'll stay home and practice with you." His grip tightened slightly. "Do you hear me?" I nodded again. He pulled me into his arms, holding me close. "Good girl." After that day, neither of us mentioned the 2 million check again. He hired a live-in housekeeper to take care of things, spent his days chatting with me. Sometimes I'd wake in the middle of the night and hear him on the balcony, taking calls. The person on the other end didn't sound friendly. He'd stay silent for long stretches, then answer softly. Usually, the next day he'd apologize, saying he'd attended a senior management meeting and had to travel for a few days. I'd seen the files on his desk, meeting notes, industry reports, financial statements, no clue how confidential they were. I didn't dare look closely. I only knew one thing. Maybe I really was holding him back. When he wasn't around, I'd practice speaking to my phone, open a voice chat or live stream. Whether anyone joined or not, I forced myself to talk. Some viewers who wandered into my stream got scared. A few college classmates ran into me by the woods and thought I wasn't mentally stable. For a while, screenshots of my eerie little live stream circulated on a forum, sparking a small thread of discussion. I replied to every comment, explaining why. To my surprise, some people were understanding. A few even came to talk with me on purpose, but it was exhausting. The stream got more and more popular. Some people encouraged me, others mocked me. Some deliberately sent tricky comments I'd stumble over reading aloud. My words still stuttered. Once, I accidentally pronounced a vulgar word's homophone, and the stream got banned again. I couldn't take it anymore. Why was I torturing myself like this and dragging Luke down with me? A lifelong condition wasn't something that could be trained away overnight. I wanted to give up. But this time, I didn't have the courage to face Luke. I packed light just clothes and left everything else behind. At a hotel, I told him it was over. That night, he rushed back to Deep City and insisted on seeing me face to face. I opened the door to find Luke, worn out and bloodshot, standing stiffly there. Neither of us said a word. I couldn't stop crying, and crying, until finally, I said the most fluent sentence I'd ever managed. "Luke, I'm under so much pressure. I really can't do this anymore." He pressed his lips tight and asked, "You really can't? You can't try once more?" "I'm so tired," I said. He set his gift bag on the floor, eyes down. "If it's really that painful, then forget it." I crouched there, watching him turn away. "Luke!" He stopped, looked back. That's when I noticed his eyes were red too. I said, "Can we still be friends? Will we ever see each other again?" He gave a faint laugh. "Yeah, you can reach out if you need anything." But I understood he meant he wouldn't reach out to me. And he didn't. Never again. It's been more than 3 years. If he knew how clearly I can speak now, would he be happy for me? Alcohol dredges up the past. Drunken emotions bubble up and blot out reality. I slumped over the table, completely forgetting I was at the company banquet. Across from me sat my boss's boss's boss. Tony Camel frowned, patting my shoulder. Jennifer, wake up! Jesus, don't tell me you've got alcohol poisoning? Great. Now Luke's gonna come after me with a knife. I stirred, turning my head from my folded arms, one eye peeking at him. Huh? Mr. Tony? He exhaled in relief, handed me a tissue, and jerked his chin. Wipe your face, you're a mess. Sorry, had too much. I get emotional. This stuff's strong. It really hits hard. I forced a smile, the realization slowly sinking in. Hey, Mr. Tony, weren't we talking about a raise? He waved his hand grandly. Raise, right. 50%. But tomorrow, no? The day after you're coming with me to, an intercompany exchange event. Am I even senior enough to attend that with you? Oh, it's just a dinner, nothing formal. Wait, but the day after tomorrow's the start of our holiday. Triple pay then. The event's full of big shot connections, and I'm bringing you because I can see you're ambitious. Tony said it with a straight face. I didn't doubt him, gave an okay sign. He let out a long breath, smiling like a sly fox who'd just gotten his way. I'll have the driver take you home. Get some rest. I'll pick you up the day after tomorrow. Riding on the buzz of alcohol, I slept until 2 in the afternoon. I sat on the edge of my bed for half an hour, trying to remember what exactly I'd said at the company party last night. I couldn't recall everything, but Tony Camel's mischievous grin was burned into my brain. His reputation with women wasn't exactly stellar. One day he's putting a movie star on a magazine cover, the next he's dining with a newly debuted actress. I'd never heard of him getting involved with anyone from our company, but still, the thought made my scalp tingle. Before I could think of a good excuse to refuse him, a message from the company chat popped up. Tomorrow's dinner is for my buddy's birthday. You'd better bring a gift. Make the most of it if he tosses you a random chance. You could save yourself a few $100,000 in taxes. Kyle, the secretary will pick you up at 5:30 p.m. A casual family gathering, huh? I should skip it. I got way too drunk last night and ran my mouth. Mr. Camel, please don't take it personally. There are plenty of others with better numbers than me. Maybe give them the chance? I typed all that out, then deleted it like a coward. Ended up sending just one word: received. I washed up, only to realize I'd forgotten to ask the most crucial details. Was his friend older or younger? More into art and books or traditional stuff? What about orientation? I had no clue. I opened my phone and searched gifts for bosses, and up came the stores I'd bought from years ago: scarves, belts, briefcases. None of them were pricey, definitely below what I'd pick now. Back then, though, every time I gave them to Luke, he was always so happy. A wave of nostalgia hit me. His birthday was coming up, too. He'd been born right around Lunar New Year. Every year, he'd celebrate with me first, then rush home to celebrate again. The next day, he'd come back with arms full of gifts, all from relatives and business partners of the Wren family. People who knew he was dating would try to be clever, sending the latest season's luxury goods. He'd pick through them carefully, setting aside what I could use, but he'd never give them to me right away, made me circle around him, so anxious I'd stammer just asking. Only then would he lift his chin and lazily hand me the suitcase. I'd sit on the floor, tearing open the boxes one by one. Luke would sit nearby, one leg bent, sipping water. See anything you like? I'd hold up my favorite. He'd glance at it, smile. Got it. I'll make sure to discuss more projects with their company next year. You're abusing your power for personal gain, I told him. I was born in autumn, don't even know which exact day. The pile of gifts he brought over made it feel like I'd had a birthday too. In the years since we broke up, I haven't picked out a gift for anyone. Haven't received one either. Choosing a gift that actually fits someone's personality, taste, and status, it's exhausting. I gathered my courage and messaged Tony Camel. Mr. Camel, what does your friend like? I'll prepare accordingly. He replied. Anything's fine. Fine then. I ordered a premium tea brick expensive, to play it safe. You can't go wrong with tea, right? The shop owner said the quality I wanted was high-end, and the only one they had was already reserved. They'd have to get another shipped in. Luckily, it arrived just in time for the dinner. I picked out a semi-formal business outfit, grabbed the gift box, and headed out. Tony Camel's secretary was already waiting downstairs. I got into the car and instinctively looked for someone to greet but didn't see him. Kyle gave me a quick glance. "Looking for Mr. Camel. We're heading to pick him up now." "Oh, okay." After a pause, I asked, "Secretary Kyle, do you always go with Mr. Camel to these dinners? He doesn't drink much, so I don't need to accompany him. I usually wait in the car. Do you know who he's meeting this time?" "No idea." He slowed the car and pulled over. Right then, Tony Camel came out of a tea shop, holding a familiar-looking gift bag. A cold sweat prickled down my back. I looked down at the box on my lap. No way. It couldn't be that much of a coincidence, could it? Tony opened the car door and dropped his package beside him. I peeked at the rearview mirror. The more I looked, the worse my headache got. The exact same gift. How the hell was I supposed to give mine now? Our eyes met. Tony gave the driver an address, then turned to me. "Jennifer, you brought your gift?" I turned around slowly, lifting the box to show him. He almost choked on his laugh. "What young person drinks this kind of tea? You bought it too." "I'm giving it to his dad, that's why." "You really didn't put any thought into this, huh? Just went for the expensive stuff?" "Mr. Camel, gifts for men, if you think too hard, it crosses the line. Cufflinks, ties, belts, watches, those are too personal. The safest options are still cigarettes, liquor, or tea." The car turned past an intersection and stopped outside a traditional-style courtyard. I followed Tony in with my gift. Inside the private dining room, a few men were chatting. When they spotted us, they waved us over and pulled out chairs. I met one man's gaze and froze for a few seconds. Carlos's eyes went wide when he saw me walking in behind Tony. I gave him a polite nod, but my heart skipped a beat. A high school classmate here, of all places? I wasn't close to Carlos. The few times we'd crossed paths, it was always because of Luke. The room buzzed with laughter. "You're early for once, Chen. Not running late this time? Huh? Brought a girl too? Changing your type now? That's not the same one from last time, right? Man, we get together to catch up, and you're the only one bringing company. Seriously, though, tone it down. The way you mess around, if it were us, our legs would have been broken by now." Tony snorted. "Get that checked. She's my employee. Jennifer, put your gift over on that table." The gifts were displayed in open boxes, jade stones, jewelry, riding crops, watches. The two identical tea bricks stood out awkwardly. Just as the teasing had begun to die down, it flared back up again. Matching gifts, too? What's next? Matching outfits? Couple gifts? "Carlos, you're usually the loudest. Why so quiet now?" Carlos looked torn, then forced out, I'd rather not say." I sat in the corner with a wry smile. "Guess you can't show up to this kind of thing without being teased a little." Footsteps approached steadily from the hall. Suddenly, everyone started scrambling to grab something. The door swung open, and confetti exploded across the room. "Happy birthday, young Master Dawson!" I clapped along with everyone else, then froze upright. "Who? Dawson?" Colorful ribbons fluttered down. The man at the door brushed confetti off his shoulder, half helpless, half silent. "How many times are you going to pull this stunt?" After all these years, the voice wasn't exactly familiar anymore, less boyish now, more grounded. My back went rigid, my face flushed hot. Luke stood at the door with his hands in his pockets, his expression slowly hardening. The room fell silent. The guests exchanged puzzled looks. "Come sit, young Master Dawson." A waiter stood by, ready to take his coat. I lowered my head, deliberately avoiding his eyes. Carlos coughed a few times to smooth things over. "Sit first, Luke. You can talk later." After a pause, he pulled out a chair and sat. He took a sip of warm water, then looked down, eyes flicking toward Tony. "Aren't you going to introduce us?" Tony patted the back of my chair. "Jennifer, my company's top-performing host. Everything she promotes blows up. Thought I'd bring her along so you guys can meet. If you've got any business down the line, take care of her, yeah?" I rose at the right time, smiled politely, and gave a small bow. Whoa, who's this that you're personally introducing? Should we be calling her sister-in-law? Carlos held back for a bit. Cut it out. Seriously. Stop asking. Tony Camel cleared his throat. If you want to tease me, fine, but leave decent people out of it. She's not my girlfriend. Oh, she's not? Luke said without even looking up. Here I was thinking we'd be toasting your wedding soon. I stared at my glass, playing the background character. A few people chuckled. Sorry about that, miss. We'll drink to make up for it. Tony, you too. Why'd you even bring an employee if it's not business? Right. We haven't toasted the birthday boy yet. Come on, drink up. May your fortune be as vast as the seas, and your life as long as the southern mountains. You stealing my line? Luke didn't refuse a single toast, downing every one. I listened to the laughter, but it all felt unreal. My head buzzed, like I'd just woken up. His birthday wasn't that supposed to be during the new year? After everyone finished their well wishes, I was the only one left silent. Tony Camel lightly kicked my chair. Snapping out of my daze, I lifted my glass and stood. I'm not great with words, so I'll just wish Mr. Luke success in his career and good health. Luke leaned back in his seat and gestured for someone beside him to pass the bottle. He drained his half-full glass, refilled it, and raised it toward me before downing it all at once. Tony half joked. One glass after another? Never seen you drink like this, don't overdo it. Luke pressed his fingers to his brow, voice calm. You don't have to talk if you don't want to. The mood twisted awkwardly. Then someone threw the topic my way again. Miss Jennifer, how long have you been in new media? 2 years. Only 2? That's impressive. The man blinked. You studied something related in college? Not at all. Back then I had a speech problem. After graduation, I worked a year in sales. That's how I learned to talk properly. Carlos froze. With your degree, you did sales? Everyone glanced our way. You two know each other? We've met a few times, Carlos said, then looked at me. Why not find an easier job? Who'd hire an employee who can't even speak smoothly? Every year, top university grads flood the market companies can cherry pick. They want ambition, ability, energy. They want people eager to learn, reflective, polished, poised. Being introverted becomes a flaw. Poor communication skills? You don't even make it past the first round. When I was with Luke, I'd drawn a safe circle around myself. I always thought he wouldn't let anything happen to me. With him there, I was safe. If someone's got your back, why push yourself? So I kept running away. After all, once you start something, you'll face challenges. But if you never move, the only challenge left is making the decision to start. It wasn't until after we broke up that I began facing my own battles. If I couldn't speak fluently, I'd be jobless and starve. Fall recruitment, spring recruitment, thesis defense, graduation paperwork, job placement, endless pressure. I practiced reciting the nightly news every day and skipped the fall season altogether, failed again in the spring. Soon I submitted my thesis and joined the ranks of the unemployed. Out of options, I dug out the gift Luke gave me on the day we broke up, thinking I could sell it for some living money. Inside the box was a rare designer handbag and a check for $2 million. The one from his mother had long been torn up. This one was new, signed in his name. He'd still left me a way out. Sitting in that cramped rental room, I finally broke down. That was the end. The moment I decided to use that money, our paths truly split. We'd never see each other again. With that money, I didn't have to worry about surviving anymore. So I found a sales job and got rejected right away. I stopped the HR at the door and said I didn't need a base salary. Just give me a platform where I could speak. They let me stay. Every morning, the company made us read aloud at full volume. We had to sound fired up, like we were on caffeine shots. If you didn't sound wild enough, they'd criticize your attitude. I couldn't let go at first and got called out and scolded over and over. After that came the cold calls. On good days, People hung up immediately. On bad ones, they cursed my parents to high heaven. Every time a client insulted my family, I'd respond sincerely, "Thank you." That always threw them off just long enough for me to pitch my insurance plan, then they'd call me an idiot and hang up. On lucky days, I closed enough deals to cover rent. No one laughed at my stutter anymore. I switched jobs. Started as an assistant host. My face got me promoted fast. But the higher I climbed, the tougher it got. Supervisors and viewers scolded me constantly. At first, I cried in secret. But the first month I made $50,000. I stopped caring. I loved working. I wanted money to fill the hole left in my savings. Somehow, it felt like once I hit 2 million, I wouldn't owe Luke anything. Work kept me busy. No time to think about him. I missed him anyway. Luke focused on his meal. I sneaked a glance at him, picking through the memories. I sorted out the past few years and spoke honestly. Someone nearby handed me a business card. My friend runs a jewelry brand that's doing a promo campaign. Miss Jennifer, if you're interested, reach out to her about a collaboration. I quickly accepted it. It was an up-and-coming brand in the luxury market. Their ambassadors were all socialites and heiresses. Technically, I wasn't allowed to take such offers privately. Tony arched an eyebrow. If someone's offering you that kind of exposure, take it. It doesn't count as moonlighting. I pressed my palms together in a little mock bow and whispered, "Thank you, boss." Then I turned and met Luke's eyes. He lowered his gaze to his phone, then stood up. "Gonna take a call. You guys go ahead." The birthday boy left, and the room instantly relaxed. I couldn't join the chatter anymore, just ate quietly. Tony turned to me. "I'll have them set a separate table next door for you. When you're done, call Kyle to take you home." "No need, Mr. Kamel. You enjoy your dinner. I'll go back myself." I grabbed my bag and left. As soon as I stepped out, noise erupted behind me. Carlos lunged at Tony, grabbing his collar in frustration. "Damn it, Tony! I tell you stories out of kindness, and you bring the main characters here to stir things up?" "Oh, come on, Jennifer still hung up on him. Isn't it good they met again? What if Luke still likes her? Perfect chance to patch things up. Do you think he looks like he's still interested?" Tony laughed loudly. "Carlos, if you've never been in love, don't pretend. I'm telling you, those two are bound to get back together, you believe me or not." A mix of unfamiliar voices chimed in. "Wait, what are you guys talking about? What do you mean, still likes her? That was Luke's ex-girlfriend? You're kidding, accidentally dragged the ex into a setup?" Man, whoever teased her earlier better apologize fast. Looks to me like there's no feelings left. Let's hope so. The chatter faded into clinking glasses. I buttoned my coat and stepped into the wind. Winters along the southern coast weren't harsh, just faintly cold. Rounding the corridor, I saw Luke standing in a pavilion not far away, casually scattering fish feed. It was already dark, the air much cooler than in the afternoon. That coat he wore couldn't possibly keep the chill out. I hesitated for half a minute, torn between turning back or walking ahead. He must have sensed me, glancing sideways. "Why aren't you inside, Mr. Luke?" I asked. "If I'm there, you'll be uncomfortable." "It's only natural. It's awkward, running into each other like this." That's why I stepped out. Mr. Tony said it was a friend's birthday. Didn't expect it to be yours." I swallowed the rest of my questions. "I've already delivered the gift, so I won't interrupt your celebration." He slowly tightened the little bag of fish feed in his hand. "I'm leaving the country for New Year's, so they threw it early. What did you get me?" "A tea brick. Same as Tony's." "I don't like tea." Then I chose poorly. "Your father might appreciate it." "I mean, I'm not happy with this birthday gift." He pulled his coat closed and turned toward me. My voice caught without meaning to. "Then I'll pick another." He made a low sound in his throat agreement, more or less. Silence stretched between us. I wanted to say goodbye, but somehow I stayed. "Luke," he paused, turned his head slightly. "I just told you everything about the last few years. I said. Is there anything you want to tell me? The wind whipped my hair across my face. I smoothed my bangs, unsure if he even heard. Are you going home? Maybe it was my imagination, but his tone was gentler than it had been at the table, almost tender. I froze for a few seconds. Ah, yeah, let's go. He naturally placed a hand on my shoulder. I'll take you. I kept warning myself to stay calm, but my legs moved on their own, following him into that familiar car. The partition rose, warm air quickly filling the cabin. He took off his coat and set it aside. The rich scent of liquor drifted faintly through the air. So that was it, drunk and sentimental. I wondered if, once sober, he'd regret being this kind. I turned to the window to soothe my eyes. Uncontrollably, I started missing the me who could curl into his chest. I thought seeing him again would ease the longing, but it only grew worse. Winter was a season made for holding someone close. If the heat's too high, you feel dry and restless. Too low, and the cold seeps in. During winter breaks, sometimes we met in his city, sometimes mine. Back then, my place had no heating. After showering, I'd gasp from the cold and sprint into bed. Luke went to bed early, always half awake when I slipped into his arms, freezing. He'd grunt softly, eyes still half closed, reaching to touch my feet. Why are they always so cold? That's normal. They've always been like this. I pressed my hands and legs against him, warmth spreading fast. Luke didn't speak, just breathed a little harder. We were barely in our 20s, students still, too young to talk about sex with ease. Until one night, I woke up suddenly. Luke was behind me, holding me too tightly, almost squeezing the breath out of me. His cool teeth grazed the back of my neck, followed by a wet, trembling lick. My whole body flushed from my feet to my scalp. I didn't dare make a sound, didn't dare move. Then someone exhaled sharply, I couldn't tell who. My breathing faltered, giving me away. He rasped, "Jennifer?" "Yeah." He tilted my chin up and kissed me, deep and urgent. In the dark, we couldn't see each other, only the glint of our eyes and our ragged breathing betraying everything. When he'd had enough, he knelt upright, pressing my knees together. I was afraid of sex, too unfamiliar with it to go further. I only remembered the skin of my thighs rubbed raw. In all our years of dating, that was the closest we'd ever come. I pulled my gaze away. He leaned back, eyes closed, voice husky. I went abroad to study philosophy, came back and started working. No big twists, no drama worth mentioning. You still have enough money? I'm comfortable. Good, he said quietly. What made you want to be a streamer? Maybe. Going with the flow. The truth was obsession. After we broke up, I became obsessed with speaking. It just so happened that streaming meant talking non-stop. The trees along the road slid by in neat rhythm. Tony sent me a video earlier, he said. Heat rushed to my face. That night, my boss wanted to set me up, so I was just acting drunk. Acting? Okay, fine, it was real. Please don't show anyone. His eyes fixed on my face. How should you ask me that? The space suddenly felt tiny, shrinking to a corner between us. I leaned back, spine pressing into the seat. His hand traced slowly up my back, vertebra by vertebra. Passing streetlights flickered over his face, light and shadow shifting. His lips caught mine, stealing my breath. I kicked weakly. Luke's eyelids lifted as he pulled me onto his lap. Stay away from Tony. Isn't he your friend? Yeah. Then why can't I see him? He's a flirt. I fell silent. And you still hang out with him? Whether he flirts or not is his girlfriend's problem. I only care if he's a good friend. Oh, good girl. He patted my lower back lightly, then asked, Did that money help you? A lot, I whispered. Why did you tear up the first check and give me a new one? If money was what it took to make you leave, it should have come from me. I started earning after that, trying to make back that $2 million. I kept thinking I'd repay you someday, and now I finally can. I never expected you to pay it back. I just didn't think you'd choose such a hard road. My breath hitched. It wasn't that bad, honestly. Once you've survived something, it always looks smaller in hindsight. I don't feel pain over those years anymore. But the moment he brought it up, my eyes stung. Streetlights flashed into the car, then disappeared just as fast. His hand brushed through my hair, cupped my cheek. The touch was cold at first, then quickly warmed by our skin. Through the haze, I turned slightly to look at him. All traces of tenderness vanished, replaced by the cold sweat drying on my skin. Luke must have been drunk, his eyes half closed, peaceful. But they weren't the calm eyes I remembered. They were dark and hazy, unfocused. "My promise still stands," he murmured. "So, will you come back?" I didn't answer. I wrapped my arms around his neck, pressing his face into the crook of mine, hiding my unraveling. What had pressed against my cheek earlier was unmistakably a ring. My hand slid to his lower back, then down to his fingers. There it was on his ring finger, a wedding band. No wonder his friends had given him so many women's gifts. Why? Why? I sat frozen, listening to the rhythm of his heartbeat thudding against mine through layers of skin and flesh, and mingled with that heartbeat, pounding just as hard was rage. What did that mean? That seeing an old flame made him feel comfortable enough to rekindle things? The driver slowed the car to a stop and called softly, "Miss, we've arrived." Luke loosened his hold and glanced out the window. "You could move back in. The fingerprint lock's still yours. The flowers you planted are still there." I stared at his face, wanting to ask, but too drained to do it. For one brief second, I actually prayed he wouldn't confess that he was married so I could pretend not to know. "Will you be home?" I asked. "Not for a while. I'm going abroad. Back in about half a month." "All right," I said. "Got it. Goodbye." The black car rolled into the night. Half a month enough time to clear out my things. I submitted my resignation through the system. A few days later, Tony Camel called. "Your manager told me you filed to quit. What's going on?" I gave the excuse I'd prepared. "Luke told me not to hang around you anymore." Silence for a beat. Then he exploded. "What the hell? Does he think I'm some kind of threat? Do I look like that type? Wouldn't know." "Fine. I am," he said, exhaling hard. "You two back together or something? What'll you do after quitting?" "Yeah," I said. "Anyway, I've made enough. I'll just do some content creation on my own." "Well, in that case, I can't really stop you," he sighed. "Just remember to do your handover, that's all." "Wait, Tony," I said. "Could I trouble you to pass something to him for me? Why don't you just give it to him yourself?" "He's not here. I have to go home for a while. Won't be back for over a month." "Oh, all right. Drop it off when you can." The call ended. I wrapped the check together with the birthday gift I'd picked out. Thanks to Luke, my resignation didn't need the full 30 days to process. The new host taking my place was experienced, so there wasn't much to hand over. I asked Secretary Kyle to deliver the package to the admin floor. On my last day, the department threw me a farewell party. My coworkers sang their hearts out at KTV. Tony Camel wasn't around. I went up to the rooftop and found him there, holding a cigarette, talking on the phone. Not wanting to interrupt, I turned back. Behind me, his voice carried faintly through the cold air. "Yo, back already? Thought you were staying till next week?" "Your folks didn't say anything?" "Tsk, love really changes people." Not much of a buddy move, though, getting back together and stealing my employee. "She quit what, not you telling her to? Said she was going home and asked me to pass you a gift?" It was almost 10 on a winter night, the streets thinly populated. I got into a taxi and gave the driver the address. A delivery app pinged my scheduled moving van would arrive in an hour. Time to get my things out of Luke's place. I'd sort through what to keep and what to toss once I was there. The fingerprint lock still worked. Inside, not much had changed since I left. No one was living there, but it had been kept clean. As I opened the cabinets one by one, something soft dropped and hit my head. A knitted hen. A gift from Luke back when we weren't even dating, yet a good luck charm before college entrance exams. Our whole class exchanged gifts that day. I hadn't dared accept anyone else's. My classmates knew I was strapped for cash and skipped me to spare the awkwardness. Luke came in carrying a plush hen, which got passed around the room for everyone to squeeze. In the end, the chubby, round hen landed on my desk. I walked in, saw it, and nearly cried out of anger. I thought someone was mocking me, trying to humiliate me. Who put this here? I did. Luke stood nearby, looking startled, uncharacteristically unsure. Sorry, I didn't mean anything by it. The moment I saw him, my anger vanished. My temper deflated like a balloon. Awkwardly, I lowered the hand pointing at the toy. You gave it? I said. Tay, thank you. I couldn't remember ever saying I liked stuffed animals. Until one night much later it came back to me during introductions at the start of the semester. I'd said I liked hens. Because they were productive and looked kind. That year, a foreign plush toy brand was all the rage. Luke didn't know much about it, so he'd asked a friend's sister to help him buy one. It hadn't been easy, but he managed to find the hen model. I never thought he'd like me back. A poor, inarticulate girl whose only strength was test papers so dull. I only ever dared to fantasize that maybe one day, during a blackout, I could secretly tug his sleeve. We crossed paths often in classwork, scholarship forms, tuition waivers, dorm fee exemptions, always about money. Luke avoided using the word. When handing me forms, he'd just tell me when they were due. Still, every time I took one, a wave of shame hit me. I liked exams. Only when scores came out could I lift my head. Because on those ranking sheets, my name was always ahead of his or right behind. After one major mock exam, the class erupted in chaos, complaining about wasted tutoring fees while shaking me by the shoulders. They asked what I'd eaten growing up, how I was so good without extra classes. A dozen hands pounded my back like playful punches. I said nothing, but couldn't stop the corners of my mouth from curling up. After admiring the rankings one last time, I turned around and crashed straight into a warm school uniform. Luke stood there, stunned, eyes wide. My nose had bumped against his chest, right below his collarbone. Through the thin fabric, I could feel the heat of his skin. I jumped back instinctively, smacking into the wall, my face burning. Luke pressed his lips together. Reaching out before hesitating, my sleeves were short, and he didn't know where to touch. He just murmured, Sorry, did I hurt you? I waved my hands frantically. I'm fine. The truth was, I wanted him closer. All through high school, I thought my feelings were one-sided. Even after we went to different colleges, he stayed in touch. I finally gathered the courage to ask him to dinner to confess. He got off the plane with a bouquet. I froze at the arrivals gate, too nervous to approach. 10 minutes later, he found me in the crowd. Brow furrowed but relieved. Online, we'd talked so easily. In person, we were stiff and awkward. He rubbed his nose, clenched and unclenched his fists, his nose practically sweating before he finally spoke. Jennifer, are you hungry? After we broke up, I spent countless nights clinging to that memory for comfort. But now, I couldn't connect that man with the one I'd just seen. I packed all my clothes into a giant woven bag. The stuffed animals filled a whole box on their own. I cleared out the expired cosmetics, revealing a thin layer of dust beneath. The leftover junk didn't even fit into 4 large bags. The mover had to make 2 trips. I had my assistant handle the luggage, mopped the floor clean, then took a shower. My flight was in just over 3 hours. It was time to head to the airport. Standing in the living room, I looked around. It finally looked like a single person's home. I didn't know what time it was abroad, probably morning there. Maybe he was chatting with his family. Beep! The door swung open hard. Luke stood there, breathing heavily, his knuckles white against the doorframe, veins bulging. I froze for a few seconds. Weren't you supposed to be gone for half a month? Half a month, and then come back to find the place emptied out? He strode toward me, gripping my shoulders and shaking me. Jennifer, what the hell are you doing? I should be asking you that. I slapped his hands away and snapped, my voice sharp. Was it fun to toy with me? Watching me pour my heart out in front of everyone, did that make you feel powerful? His breathing was still uneven, his jaw tight, voice rough. What exactly did I do wrong? I stared at him and, somehow, laughed. How are your parents? And your wife? His expression went blank for a split second. Then, regaining focus, he looked down at his left hand. Without hesitation, he pulled off the ring and tossed it aside. You couldn't just ask me if I was married? Then why wear a ring? And why did all your birthday gifts look like women's presents? When I'm abroad, the married man image keeps opportunists at bay. Is that a good enough reason? And as for those gifts, the only one I kept was yours. The rest went straight to my parents or relatives you really didn't know. He drew in a deep breath. I've worn that ring for years. Sometimes I forget it's even there, so I didn't take it off when I saw you. If that ring made you misunderstand me, then I've got nothing to say. But before you make decisions that affect both of us, can you at least come and ask me first? Why do you always act on impulse and make choices that affect other people? I leaned against the wall, pressing a hand to my forehead. My eyes stung beneath my palm. I couldn't come to you. He let out a strained laugh. Give me one good reason. Because before I even saw you again, I was already warning myself not to be the other woman. Not seeing him kept a shred of reason intact. It reminded me to protect my dignity. If we'd argued face to face, maybe I would have told myself, so what if I stay? He loves me. He's rich. I'd just lack the title. But after studying all these years, after being told I'd make something of myself, I couldn't be the kind of person who wrecks someone else's marriage. Disappearing without a word was the most decent exit I could manage. The air went silent. Luke stood frozen. No anger, just shock. Then he clenched his jaw and pulled me into his arms. I'm sorry. It's my fault. My fault. Don't wipe my tears. He brushed them away anyway. Next time, talk to me. I'll never let you be the other woman, okay? Really? He wiped the last of the wetness from my face and tucked me back against his shoulder. Really. No more crying. I'll talk to my family tomorrow, all right? But I already packed everything. Doesn't matter if it's with you or here. I steadied my breathing and glanced at his sweater, damp where my tears had fallen. He bent slightly, patting my back, sighing softly. The next morning, Tony Camel's call jolted me awake. Luke had left a note saying he went to the office early. I grabbed my phone. Well, well. Look who finally picked up, Tony's hoarse voice mocked. Get your ass over here and take back the gift you left for Luke. My heart skipped. My check was still inside. If someone else took it, I'd die. By the time I got to the office, Tony hadn't even gotten out of bed. I waited in the lounge until he shuffled in, hair a mess, half asleep. You're really something, he grumbled. It's bad enough you made him crazy. Now I've lost a night's sleep too. Mr. Tony, how'd you get dragged into this? I called to tell him you were going home, and the guy lost it. Said no way you could go back, claimed your home's in some mountain village, and if you did, they'd probably sell you off. How was I supposed to know you had it that rough? I felt guilty as hell. Started calling in favors, checking cameras everywhere. Good thing you hadn't boarded yet. If you had, even breaking my bones wouldn't make my arms long enough to reach you. His face twisted in frustration, which peaked right as hot tea splashed on his foot. I quickly changed the subject. I didn't think he could make it back. Technically, he shouldn't have. He waved a hand and tossed me the package. You know how long it takes from the airport to here? Less than 2 hours. That bastard ditched his driver halfway and probably flew the rest himself. If he didn't max out his license points getting here, I'll eat my hat. I caught the parcel, glancing at it. Mr. Tony, when did you two meet? Back in school overseas. Why? Do you know why he wears a wedding ring? He was pretending Told everyone he was married, so we wouldn't invite him to parties. Once we got closer, he admitted it was fake. A bit later, he confessed he had a sweet, stuttering girlfriend back home. The moment you started talking at the annual dinner, I had a hunch. I showed your photo to Carlos, and boom, it was really you. Tony gave me a once-over, clicking his tongue. Didn't picture it at all. Guess I was blind. Maybe you were, I said. He rolled his eyes and slumped into the couch. Whatever, I'm getting some sleep. Don't bother me with updates. Then I won't. I grabbed my parcel and stood. 10 minutes earlier, Luke had tried to video call me. I'd missed it. Just as I thought about calling back, another message came through. The company's busy early in the year. If we announce the marriage now, it'll cause too much noise. Is it okay to keep it private for a bit? My heartbeat spiked, like I was back in class being called on to answer. The tremor started in my feet and rushed up my spine. The typing indicator blinked. I've only told my friends abroad so far. The rest I want us to tell them together, in person. Your parents? They agree? My mother does. Once she did, no one else objected. Where are you now? At the office. Should we tell Tony? If you want. But he said not to bother him with our stuff. Then not yet. I looked back. The door to Tony's lounge was closed tight. The first streetlight flickered on that night. I'd already received the 7th congratulatory gift from Luke's friends. The sudden announcement caught everyone off guard. Every host who heard the news reacted like startled frogs, swearing, jumping, panicking. The gifts came in mismatched bags, obviously thrown together by their flustered wives. I lined them up neatly, one by one. He rubbed his thumb against mine. Hungry? Let's eat first. We'll deal with the rest tomorrow. Okay, but wait. I turned my phone toward him. On screen was Tony Kamel's furious avatar. The second I answered, his roar filled the car. You're getting married and didn't tell me first? Luke, our friendship is over. I quietly turned down the volume. City lights shimmered outside. I held his hand tightly, tracing the lines of his palm over and over. Somewhere in those familiar creases, my fate had already been written.